Hello class 11th. Today I am going to explain you the alternation of generation. What is alternation of generation? Alternation of generation is defined as the alternation of the diplontic and the heplontic or the diploid or the haploid forms in the organism life. Diploid is 2n, we write it, and haploid as n. Regardless of whether or not these forms are in the free living, they are dependent or they are independent. Alternation of generation is also called as the metagenesis or heterogenesis in biology. Over here means that the two life haploid and diploid forms are there, and plant kingdom shows alternation of generation. The alternation of a sexual phase and an asexual phase in the life cycle of an organism. The two phases or generation are often morphologically, sometimes chromosomally also distinct. The fluctuation between these diploid haploid stages that occur in plant is called as the alternation of generation. And we write it that the gametophyte body as haploid and the sporophyte body as diploid. Alternation of generation depends upon the type of plant, whether it is bryophyte, pteridophyte, gymnosperms. Like suppose in bryophyte, the dominant generation is the haploid body, that is the gametophytic body, and the sporophyte is going to get attached to it and which cannot live an independent life. And in tracheophytes, the dominant generation is diploid, the sporophyte, which comprises the main plant body, but the sporophyte, the gametophyte do have the independent existence. Now, the plant life cycle is one of the two generations, the dominant over the other. The plants in the dominant generation grow larger and live longer rather than the non-dominant. The plant in the non-dominant generation are small and they are hardly visible also. On the contrary, the dominant generation are seen in the forms in the ferns, trees and other, that is the diploid body. The dominant generation in vascular plants is the sporophyte, while in non-vascular plant is gametophyte. This is the line which you should learn by heart. What are these stages? The alternation of generation generally includes stages. The diploid sporophyte has the structure which has got sporangia, which is going to bear the spores after the meiosis, and the spores is going to develop into the gametophyte, which is haploid in nature. Simply, the sporophyte will give rise to spores after meiosis, and gametophytic body is going to give rise to gamete, okay, after mitosis. Now, the sporophyte generation and the gametophyte generation we are going to talk about. The sporophyte generation, that is the diploid. So, this diploid body is formed after the fusion of the two haploid gametes, which leads to the formation of a diploid zygote. Now, the sporophyte is formed by multiple rounds of mitosis in a multicellular organism, and after reaching maturity, they are going to lead to formation of a sporophyte body, which is going to be inside the sporangia. The spores will be there. The gametophyte generation is the next generation in the alternation of generation. Over here, the spore is newly formed and has the half of the DNA as the parent organism. The spore undergoes mitotic division. The point to be noted in sporophyte is the meiotic division. Over here, mitosis is going to occur. The gametophyte generation creates the gamete. The gametophyte leads to formation of the gametes, and these gametes are transferred between the plants and spread into the environment for the asexual reproduction. When a gamete encounters a gamete of the opposite sex, leads to the formation of a sporophyte body. Haploid and haploid is going to fuse to form a sporophyte, that is the zygote. This is the difference between a sporophyte and a gametophyte. Sporophyte, where the asexual reproduction, only the somatic cells are involved. In the gametophyte, what will happen? The sexual reproduction, only sex actually the involvement of the gamete is going to occur. And sporophyte over here, meiosis will occur, leads to formation of spores, and gametophyte mitosis. Sporophyte forms the spores and gametophyte forms the gamete. This is the difference, and we say which life cycle is dominant. If suppose in the first life cycle, if you see, that is the heplantic cycle. Now, in the first heplantic cycle, the haploid, the plant is going to lead majority of the life as haploid. So over here, the sporophyte generation is represented only by the one-celled zygote is there. No free living sporophyte is there. And this kind of life cycle is termed as haplontic. Many algae are there. Volvox is there. Spirogyra, chlamydomonas, which represent this type of pattern. Another is, second is the diploid and the haploid, that is diplohaplantic. Now the bryophyte and the pteridophyte over here, which leads exhibit the intermediate condition of the haplo-diplontic type of life cycle. Both the phases are multicellular. Now third is the diploid, that is the diplontic. Diplontic type of life cycle is led by generally the gymnosperms and the angiosperms. So majority of the organism is going to lead the life as diploid, and it will have specialized reproductive organ where the gametes will be formed haploid, and which is going to fuse to form the zygote, that is a sporophyte, the main plant body. This is well explained explanation of the haplontic type of life cycle, where majority algae which is leading, like example is volvox, spirogyra, chlamydomonas. Over here, majority of the time it is haploid only, and zygote is there. Then in the zygotic meiosis occurs, lead to the formation of the spore. So in haplontic life cycle, the sporophytic generation is represented only by one-celled zygote, which is diploid, and the zygotic meiosis is occurring so that the progeny is also haploid. This is another same representation a pic of the NCRT, which is showing the haplontic, diplontic, and haplodiplontic. In haplontic, algae leads haplontic life cycle. Then diplontic life cycle is leaded by, generally diplontic is leaded by, that is gymnosperms and angiosperms. Bryophyte and pteridophyta leads haplodiplontic type of life cycle. If we do not look into the color pink and blue, you will see the same life cycle is there. So it is on the basis of the majority of leading the life. This is the life cycle of angiosperm, where the stigma, style, and ovary, gynoecium, and androecium anchor, where the pollen sacs and the pollens are formed, microspores, that is the pollen, and megaspore mother cell, leading to formation of megaspore, that is the female gamete, which is going to lead to the formation of zygote. Cell differentiation will occur, which will lead to formation of embryo, and embryo into the diploid sporophytic body. Alternation of generation depends upon the type of plant, whether it is bryophyte, pteridophyte, gymnosperms. Like suppose in bryophyte, the dominant generation is the haploid body, that is the gametophytic body, and the sporophyte is going to get attached to it, and which cannot leave a independent life.